Hello everyone. This is going to be a rather awkward and difficult video. Just spent the last 3 days doing clinic escort work at Planned Parenthood because of the March for Life, the anniversary I don't know if protest is the right word, or it's certainly not commemorate, but where people who call themselves pro-life are marching because it's the anniversary of the Roe versus Wade decision that essentially made abortion legal in the United States. And I've made a video about abortion before. I am objectively anti-coat hanger, which is linked below. And my position on abortion has grown and changed in some ways over the past few days, and my opinion of human beings and activism has also grown and changed over the past few days. I am still pro-choice, dramatically, even more so now, but my understanding of the issues involved has grown considerably. What you do at a Planned Parenthood clinic, if you're a clinic escort, is there are sometimes people who will be handing out pamphlets or talking to people trying to say, you don't have to kill your baby, you don't have to do this, there's free adoption assistance, and we'll help pay for this and this and this. And what we do is, when people are trying to get into or out of the clinic and they don't want to talk to these people who are doing these things, we try and intervene in such a way so as not to shut the other person up, but just to give them some distance, give the patient some distance from these people, because they're going to a medical facility for medical advice, sometimes having nothing to do with abortion. And overwhelmingly they want to be left alone, just as a guy wanting to go to a urologist because he's having trouble peeing wouldn't want to have someone talking about interfering with the will of God in his face, or erectile dysfunction or whatever. But more so. I mean, it really is. That's, I'll leave a link to WACT, the Washington Area Clinic Defense Task Force, in the description as well. That can also give you some context as to what I'm talking about. It really was an amazing experience to have 250, 300 people show up and have like the World Wrestling whatever show with the guy dragging the cross back and forth, and some of the activists on the pro-life side they seem to me to be good people, even though their worldview seems to be, well, I disagree with it drastically for reasons I'm about to go into. And they think I am horribly deceived, but I am overall a nice guy. Anyone who has watched me on the internet or been with me on Blog TV is laughing right now, or anyone who knows me in person, oh my God, you're a nice guy. Yeah, whatever. But the fundamental thing about being at the clinic is realizing that it's not about me. That my personal preferences are completely irrelevant to what is going on here. People are going in and out of a building for medical advice and care, and other than that, it's not my business. Period. So forget about that. The only thing I would mention that has anything to do with me is the thank yous from people going in and out of the clinic, or just walking by. Some of the women who have said, I've had an abortion, thank you. Not for their abortion, but for standing there and giving people who are trying to make these decisions some space. And the look that I cannot quite decipher, that is not only gratitude, but that someone is there helping insulate them from what they see as an attack on them and their bodily autonomy, or just their right to be who they are. In so much as I don't believe in rights, but I believe we need to be who we are. We need to not try and cram ourselves into a role that is not us. But it made me realize I can't really understand the effects that my simply being there has. But it's not about me, so I don't know. I don't know what to say. I don't have the perspective or the plumbing to understand personally what those decisions are like. But what I do have is a couple thoughts. And that is, the debate hinges on two words. No, K-N-O-W, and human, or baby. And to those of you who believe that knowledge can be revealed with a capital R, that intuition or inspiration or revelation or whatever is a valid method of gaining knowledge, as opposed to a process of interrelating what knowledge you have and what you are perceiving to come up with an idea that may or may not be connected to the external reality as a whole, you're going to disagree with me, or you're going to say that I'm acting under false premises. I accept that. The premises work fairly well for me. And as far as human, if you believe that from the moment the sperm and egg meet, you have a new human being, when, from what I can tell, the process of becoming human barely begins in the womb. And it is the interaction with other human beings that you learn to recognize as other human beings. And that you learn that these things that are moving around and these sensations that have to do with something and these things you are seeing are actually your hands, and it's all tied together, and that hand over there isn't yours, it's someone else's. And that knowledge that you have, other people don't necessarily have, and vice versa. That process that really begins at birth with the sudden change from the environment that has been relatively constant to light and sound and air and noise and all sorts of things. That's, to me, when you start to become human. And even more importantly, that realization of other people and that interacting with other people and other people seeing you and realizing that there is a new person here. When the only person who's really had any interaction with that which will be you is the mother, and therefore the or the expectant mother, and the consequences of that reaction, of any decision, are on her, because you don't exist yet in the sense of consciousness or suffering, in the sense of being able to compare the condition now with conditions previously and anticipate conditions in the future. I don't see how anyone else could make that decision with any kind of information other than that which is revealed and therefore is accepted on faith without evidence. But that's not the biggest part of it for me anymore. It was the idea of pushing that decision, trying to push that decision on someone. That was the big motivator for me. And then it was the, holy shit, I really, the gratitude, okay, I must be doing something amazing, just by trying to help these people get through this craziness. But then it's like, no, I can't really understand what those people are going through. I mean, I can understand it's a big deal to them. I can understand that the abortion debate is craziness to go through if you are confronted with the actuality of a child, of a potential child, of a potential non-child, of an alternative between your death and there are many, many aspects of it. But what I came to realize is that I had to step back and look at what I had to get grounded in my experience and my reality as I perceive it and understand it and can test it. And I had to back away and go, all right, why am I doing this? Because I can't rely on other people to provide motivation for me. I want to edge away from that. As much as the gratitude feels good, to get that, and I can brush off the hate, neither of those things are things that should factor in, because it's not about me. And because I'm the one who has to do it, therefore I have to be able to justify it. Or has to not do it. I have to make that decision. And the answer is far simpler than I expected. And a little more depressing than I expected. But kind of liberating. The world, the universe we live in, there is only one constant. That is entropy. Things fall apart. People die. Systems collapse. Shit breaks. What is an odd thing in this universe, and by odd I mean that it, certainly at least in this solar system, appears to only happen here on Earth. Although there is, I believe I recall some evidence that it might have happened at one time on Mars, we're not certain. But life, in a localized frame, acts against entropy, will choose the path of greater resistance, will literally make a choice and go, well, no, that bit of seed over there looks kind of tasty, but holy shit, there's a piece of fruit hanging up there, and I'm looking at a squirrel who is actually coming down here hoping I will feed him peanuts, hoping that I will ease his entropy gradient, as it were. Hey there. I get you on camera, but if I started moving that way, you just bolt, so you have fun. In any case, you can probably hear him scurrying down below. In any case, not even suffering is certain, because you can die in your sleep before you're born. You can be aborted before you're you, before you're 16 cells, before anything can happen. Yeah, there you saw him go. But life, what are you gonna do? It's all over the place, well, in this small corner of the universe. And it's struggling. We are struggling. What abortion is, well, let's just say it's choosing where that suffering is going to be, and if that suffering is going to be, or if we're going to make a better opportunity for someone else, or if this is the right time to bring this new life into the world. And make that decision as best as we can, given the limited information we have about the future, and even ourselves. And it's... a story was told to me by a friend of mine. I didn't know this. His cousin got married, got pregnant, and she was told by the doctor that she and the baby each had a 50-50 chance of survival. And they both survived, but the child was born very sickly and took a very long time to come home from the hospital, or to be sent home from the hospital. Obviously, the kid did not stay in the hospital long enough to make it home under her own power. That's a very dark joke. You will find out why momentarily. She was diagnosed with leukemia a few years later. And she went through 2 bone marrow transplants. And when she was told she was going to go through a 3rd, that she had to go back to the hospital for another bone marrow transplant, she ran away so she could go die and not have to go to the hospital again. They found her and brought her back and took her to the hospital. Gave her another bone marrow transplant. And 3 months later, she was dead. A couple years later, the mother was told again she was pregnant. And the doctor said this time, neither of you have even 50-50. It is quite probable that at least one of you will not survive this. And she did not carry that pregnancy to term, shall we say. And sorry, I can't. I will not say that an abortion is a good thing. I can't say it's a good thing. I can't say it's a bad thing. But if you can look at people whose lives you do not understand and say that abortion, or even the option of it, is a bad thing, or you can say, well, she should have taken birth control. She did. If you can throw out platitudes and promises and generalizations with no understanding of what is going on in people's lives, when what abortion offers is a chance, a last chance, for us to look at our lives, the mother to look at her life, the people around her, and go, can I do this? Is this possible? Do I want to? Is this in me as a human being to make happen well? If you can try and shout that down so simply and with absolute conviction, then you are tragically, tremendously, and horribly speculating and exercising power beyond your understanding and your ability to do so responsibly. And I am sorry for you. But do what you need to, whatever gets you through the night. You may see me out in front of Planned Parenthood.